Okay, to get all the data of the module, you need to go to the place where the module is installed. You need to go to the folder mods, aircraft. You need to choose your aircraft, of course, cockpit, and scripts. Okay, over there we got all the information we need. All right. The main information that we need is in this file, main panel init.lua. Over there usually is all the information about the instruments. Another thing that we need is the clickable data. Over there is where all the switches, buttons and interactables controls are defined, and sometimes they put other things in other files. For example, as we can see over there, we have lamps.lua. Probably over there we have the information, for example, of all the lamps on the airplane. When you open one of those files, as you can see, the thing that we are looking for is the ID number of each element. And as you can see, all the elements, all the lamps have his own ID. This is the number that we are looking for. So in that case, we can take a look. This lamp, for example, is the number 63. How we can know which lamp is that one? Okay. One thing that I use a lot, as I told you before, is the Model Viewer. The Model Viewer is one of the programs that comes inside the DCS. If you open your DCS, you can see how you have the Model Viewer. You got it over there. When you open the Model Viewer, you can load the copy of your airplane that you are working on, and you can check every ID and change the number of every ID and look at what happened when you change that number. I'm going to open the module. I'm going to load model. I want to show you where all these modules are. For example, if I open the Open Beta, I go to mods again, over there, aircraft, MI24, cockpit, and now you need to go to shape. You got the cockpit. Okay, when this is opened, you can use your mouse to navigate across the cockpit. You can use your right mouse button to zoom in and zoom out from the cockpit. And if you use control, you can move the camera inside the cockpit, so you can go everywhere you want. When you click the control and your right mouse button. Okay, let's see the number 63. Over there you can see you have a box with all the arguments of this module. You can check everything. If I go, for example, to the number 63, do you remember number 63? It's the name of that lamp that we saw over there. If we move this and we give a value, you can see over there how this lamp is turned on and off. So, as you can see, every lamp, every switch, every instrument has his own identification number for each thing over there. And with these values over there, you can change the state of this variable. So you can see what happened when you move one of these things, okay? So just to test if our script is going to work and our profile, we are going to implement these two lamps just to check if the profile is working, okay? So let's open our script and let's fill some data. Here we got it. As you can see here at the beginning of the file, you have a table with all the information I am using right now with the generic interface. So every time you need to put a value, a control, an instrument, a lamp, anything, you can take this table as a reference to know where everything needs to be put. In this case, we need to use two lamps, so we are going to use these two lamps from here, and this time we are going to use flag values to send the state of the lamp to Helios. Usually some airplanes don't use values to 0 to 1 to know if the lamp is in the off state or on state. Sometimes they use in the middle values because perhaps they have some control to put the brightness of the lamp high or low. But in my profiles, I consider that a lamp can be on or off. So I send all these values as an integer value. So I'm going to use these flag values to send the information of the lamp to Helios. And as you can see in the generic interface, I am using these identification numbers, these IDs for the flag values or for the lamps. I am using the number 1001 to 1199, so we have almost 200 values to fill all our lamps. Another thing that is important to know is we have two main functions in the script to send the values from DCS to Helios. We have a high important function and a low important function. What that means? Well, if you need values that need to be updated very fast, like the instrument, you need to use that function. And if you need to update controls like switches, buttons, axes, and these kind of things, you can use the low importance function. The only difference between the two functions is that one is executed more often. So it's gonna take more process time if you do a lot of things in this function. So you need to try to put the low level importance things over there, okay? Well, in this case, we are going to put our two lamps over there. So we are going to use this template line to put our two lines. As you remember, the lamps are the number 63 and 64. So I am going to put over there 63. Here I'm going to put 1001, as you can see over there. Okay, and the format, as you can see, the format for the flag value is that one. So I am going to change as well the string format over there. So this line is ready to send the value to Helios. But remember that I want to send the value as a 0 or 1 value and not as a float. So I got over there one useful function that convert a value to 1 if the actual value is bigger than 0.1. And I usually use this for lamps. So even if the lamp, for example, is 0.1, so the lamp is a little bit on, I consider with that function that the lamp is completely on. So I am going to use this function over there to convert the value of the lamp to value between 0 or 1. So I put over here this function, and now I can just duplicate to put the next lamp. So in that way we are going to send to the value 1001 and 1002 the content of the values in DCS of the lamp 63 and 64. And another thing that I usually do is copy the name of the control of the lamp or something over there, because if not, when you got a lot of values, you really don't know which one is for which one. Okay, I'm going to save the profile, and now I am going to open again the profile. We don't need this anymore. We are going to use two indicators to have the light. Let's use, for example, that one. It's a green light, and that one again. As you can see, you click with the right button of the mouse, you can check how it works. And now we are going to put the input values of each one. For the first one, we are going to use the interface, DCS Generic. As you remember, we are using the flag values in our script, and we are using the flag value number 1 and number 2 of the list. So we are going to use the number 1 set indicator for that lamp, and the number 2 set indicator for the second lamp. Okay, we are going to save our profile, and now let's check our profile if it is working. Let's load a mission. Okay, here we got our 2 lamps. Fly, and let's check with the switch of the battery if these 2 lights are already synchronized with the cockpit. Well, as you can see, every time I switch the battery, I can see how the 2 lights are on. First attempt to implement 2 lamps on our profile, and now we are going to add, for example, the battery switch and some data for instrument, and let's check. Good. Let's check again a couple of controls to implement in our profile. First of all, we are going to open the cockpit in the model viewer. Let's go over there. We look for the number 63, as we remember this is the lamps, and here we got the switches. That one is the battery, as you can see, the number 61, and I'm going to look instrument near displays. I am going to use that one because that one can move after click the battery. So we are going to use the number 68 as an instrument and the number 61 for the switch. Okay, let's do first the easy one. The easy one is the instrument. So we are going to go to our scripts, let's go to mod, aircraft, hint, cockpit, scripts. Okay, the instrument data usually is always in the main panel init.lua. So we are going to open that file and we are going to search for the 68. Okay, here we got our instrument. As you can see in this file, we got all the instruments of the cockpit. Usually we are looking for the argument number, and then we need to take a look over the input values and the output values. In general, we don't need to do anything special because we are going to send the output value to Helios, in that case 0 to 1, and this is the real data on the instrument, but for our purpose we really don't need it. But as I told you before, this is when the instrument is a direct instrument, so not a scaled instrument. In some special cases we need to do special things when we got different input scales and output scales, but in that case it's going to be a very easy one. We can copy the name and we are going to add the new line for the instrument. That case is the number 68. This is not a lamp, so we don't need to convert the value. And in that case, we are going to send this not as a flag value, we are going to send it as a network value. Why? Because in that case, we can send the pure float value. So for network values, we use the IDs 1 to 199. I copy the format because in that case we want to send the float value, and here we are going to put the number 1. Okay, save it. I am going to add this value to our profile. And for the moment, we are going to use just a label to see if the value is changing or not. We are going to use, for that, we are going to use a label. A label is just a text that can show us a value. You can choose the font size. You need to be careful when you change the size of the labels. If the size is too big, the label is not going to show you the text, so you need to make bigger the text size. Okay. And now I am going to select network values, the number 1, because we use the number 1. And here we need to change to trigger value. We want to show over there the real value of this variable. I'm going to test, save it. Okay, let's try. One thing you need to take into consideration: every time you change something in your script, you need to go out from the mission. You cannot just test it. Okay, you need to go out of the mission and then start again. So the script is loaded again, and DCS know the new value to send to DCS. Okay, let's start again. Open the profile. And now we can turn on the battery. Here we have a 0 value because the instrument is not moving, but if I change this rotator from the position, we can see how we are sending the value of this instrument to Helios. Okay, let's stop again. Well, right now I am going to create the instrument. So I am going to go to the mods folder, aircraft, Mi-24, cockpit, textures. Now I am going to take one of the textures to see where is the instrument plate. I checked it before and it's over there in this file, so I am going to open Photoshop. And as you can see over there, we got the plate of the instrument. So I am going to take this part of the image. I copy the selection, Control New, and now paste. This is going to be my new plate for the instrument. Now I'm going to change a little bit the darkness of the background. something like that. Okay, I'm going to save it, save as, and now go to document, Helios, image, CaptZeen. I'm going to create a new folder, mi24 p, and over there I'm going to save as a PNG, and now I can go to the profile, and I am going to create my instrument, custom controls, custom gauge. Now I can put the background plate over there, that one. Now I can scale the needle and move to the position, to the correct position. I use as a reference this little red dot over there with the center of the needle. Okay, and now I am going to put the minimum and maximum values. So this is the minimum, and this is going to be the maximum value. And now, as this one, using the network value number 1, I'm going to put over there as well. Network values, number 1, trigger value, okay, save it. And now we are going to test it. And let's see. As you can see, now we got our first instrument. Okay, now let's go for a switch. Alright, now we are going to create our first switch. To do that, I'm going to open again the files, mods, iCraft, MiG-24, cockpit, script. Okay, usually all the information about the switches, buttons, and this kind of things, we can find it in that file, clickable data.lua. But related information of this file is the command defs and devices. So we are going to open these 3 files. That one, command definitions, and devices. Okay, in the first one we got all the elements that form part of the cockpit, the type of the switch, the name of the switch, we got the device, and we got the command. So we need to find, in that case, let's find the battery and take a look to the line where DCS define all the elements of this switch. This is the type of the switch. This is a common switch, only 2 positions. This is the name of the switch. Here we got the device. This is an important part. This is the command, and this is the ID number. We need all these 3 numbers to create a switch, okay? So the first one is the 61. The 61 is the value that let us get the input from DCS. So like we did before with the lamps, with this ID we can have the state of the switch in a given moment. The other two numbers, we are going to use those numbers to send the value from Helios to DCS. But let's first do the input side. So we go to our profile. This time I am not going to work in the high importance function, because this is something that we don't need to update every frame, only when we touch. So I am going to take this line as a reference, copy the line, and we are going to replace the data from the line. I am going to take the name of the switch, let's go change this for the 61. And now one of the things that I need to do is to be sure in which command number I send this ID. Okay, to do that we can take a look to the generic interface table, and as you can see, when I do toggle switches, we are using the button number 3001 to 3249. So I am going to use those numbers. Okay, so 3001, that's correct. The format is correct as well. This is the number 61. So only doing that we can receive the information of the switch, so we can know how the switch is acting. We can check it. Let's create a switch. That one, for example. Right now we are going to put the input. We only prepared the input data, so we are going to take toggle switch 1, set position, trigger value, correct, and let's see if this is working or not. Save it. Remember that every time you change the script, you need to run again the mission. You don't need to go to the main menu, just go out from the mission and just start again. And now when I touch this button, as you can see, the switch is moving. But as I told you before, I just implemented the input value, not the output value. So when I switch this switch, nothing happened on the cockpit. Okay, only from DCS to Helios. So we are going to go to the rest. Stop. To do the second part, we need to know more data from the switch. As you remember, we have the 61 is the ID. We finished that part, but now we need to know which is the number of the device and which is the number of the command. So we are going to check for the number of the electric interface. So we need to take a look in the device.lua. And as you can see, is the first one. So the device is going to be the number 1. This is the number 1, number 2, number 3, and so on. So in that case, our interface, our device is the number 1. And for the command, we are going to take a look to the battery write command. We need to go to the command def.lua. We are going to search for that one, battery write, and as you can see, is over there. Okay, I need to know which command number is that one, so I need to count from here. Okay, but first of all, you need to take in consideration that we start from the start command variable. If you go to the beginning of the file, start command is the number 3000, so all the commands are going to start from that number. So if I go down again and look for the battery write, I need to know which number is from that one. This is the 3001. Which number is that one? One of the things that you can do is just count every line, you know, but it's a bit tedious. So usually I take all this data, copy, create a new file, control new, paste. I remove the empty lines, and now as you can see, every line has his own number. So that one is the 37. So the command number is 3037. Okay, that one. So let's go to create the switch for output. To create the switch for output, so from Helios to DCS, we are going to use this template line. I am going to copy that one as a reference, and we are going to use the same name. I want to save the reference of the ID just for reference. And now, as you remember, we need to change those numbers. Which numbers I need to use? Okay, the first couple of numbers are referred to the generic interface, so we need to check if those numbers are correct. We are going to see in the generic interface table, we are preparing our first toggle switch. So the toggle switches, the device are the number 2, as you can see, and the first command button is going to be 3001. So number 2, 3001. So in that case, we are going to use the device number 2, and the command number is 3001. And for our switch, as you remember, we have the device number 1, and the command is 3037. So this is going to be the number 1, and here 37. So with that, we just defined this switch. I'm going to save it, control save, and now I am going to open the profile, select the switch, and now we are going to work in the output area. The input area is where you define what need to do the switch when DCS send the values, and the output is what to do when we send values from Helios to DCS. So in that case, we need to send the values when the position of the switch changes. Okay, so we are going to go to the generic interface, toggle switched, and we are going to use the set switch number 1. Trigger values correct, and we can save it, save, and let's try. We need to load again the emission. Fly again. Start the profile, and let's check. Okay, as you can see, the switch is moving when I touch on the cockpit, and now the switch is controlling as well from Helios to the cockpit. So right now we just finished our first lamps, our first instrument, and our first switch. So what's next? Okay, you got a lot of instruments, a lot of lamps, and a lot of switches everywhere in the cockpit. So we need to start to recreate all of them. Usually I don't do this kind of job one by one. Usually I do first all of the lamp, then all of the switches, then all of the instrument, and this kind of thing. But don't worry, in the next video you are going to see how I work in the usual basic. So let's close for the moment, and I see you in my next video.